Hey, artsy friends, welcome to my Shorty art journal series. This is where I take a half-size composition notebook and turn it into an art journal. So as you can see, I'm already starting with some bleed through there on the left side of the page. So I'm going to start with some collage. I'm just going to take some security envelopes and cover the background. And then I always see people use these Yoo-hoo sticks. They're a glue stick. I think they're made in Germany. And so I finally ran out of all my regular school glue sticks. And so I thought I would give them a try. I like the fact that they're kind of jumbo sticks. So it definitely covers, like if I'm putting big chunks down at a time, that's kind of nice. All right, so I'm just tearing the pages and then I'm just going to continue to kind of just go across the spread and layer some different patterns. If you're new here, this is actually the fourth series I've done, the fourth composition notebook. This is the first half-size one that I've done. So the first three are full-size, and I have process videos for all of those. And I'll also put a link below to show you how you can prepare a composition notebook. It's really simple. It just basically boils down to, I personally tear out some pages just so that in the end I avoid like too much alligator mouth, you know, when your book is so thick that it just kind of like splays open. So I like to thin it out just a little bit. And, you know, honestly, like, if I have a million pages, it takes forever to complete the book. And once I'm like more than halfway done, I don't necessarily feel rushed, but I do feel kind of a gratification once I've completed a book, like, oh, yay. So yeah, so that just kind of shortens it up. So I tear some pages out and then I glue 2 pages together just to give it a little bit more stability. It's a great way to go if you have a very small budget for art supplies, because they're usually less than $1 for a composition notebook. All right, so oftentimes I start with collage and then I move to either stamping or stenciling or mark making. So right now I'm doing some stenciling. So I'm a very not wasteful person. So if I ever have wet paint that I still have on my palette or my mixing paper sheet, whatever, I smear it on the next page and then I make sure that's dry and then I go back to the page I'm working on. And I love this color turquoise and how it just goes perfectly with red or yellow or orange. So I was just in the mood for some red. And I attempted to use this, it's a toy, I think, as a stamp, and it really didn't work very well. I tried it a couple times. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something different. Just going to take a credit card and do some smearing. Yeah. I don't think they send you these credit cards in the mail quite as often. Do you still get them? Or now they're like cardboard, but I saved them forever, like probably decades. Because I was, a craft hoarder. I'm like, someday. No, I know what it was. I saw a commercial. It was a credit card commercial that was kind of making fun of the fact that you get so many of those. And an artist had made like a fish out of them or something. So I was like, ooh, I should save all the little fake credit card offers I get and make something artsy out of it. And then it took me a really long time. Now I just mostly use them as scrapers. But they stopped sending, at least the plastic ones. Every now and then I'll get like a cardboard one. But those don't work as well for this type of purpose. So if you have any old ones, or expired cards, or like, cards from the grocery store that you really aren't ever going to use. So then I blotted the extra red paint on this page. So then I'm just going to set it up since I've got 2 pages with wet paint and I'm kind of done at this point for the day. And so I just set it up like that to dry overnight. So this is the next day. And I like how you can stop and restart. And when you restart, you can kind of like approach your page with a fresh start. Just okay, what's my mood kind of leading me to do now? And so I wanted to do a little bit of journaling in the background. And sometimes I journal and put quotes and things that I want to be able to read. And other times it's just like, I'm just going to process some thoughts that I've been having. And it's just going to be part of a visual element in the background that's really not intended to be read. So this particular little lines and triangles doodles is inspired by Elisa Burke, because this is a pattern that she often uses on her pages. And so sometimes I also will pause in the middle of working on a page when I'm kind of like, okay, what should I do next? Like if I don't have any ideas just automatically come to my brain, I will get on my Pinterest boards or my Facebook group, or I'll just look for an element that just appeals to me. And so that's where I borrowed that. And borrowing ideas from each other is totally allowed in the artsy circle. No one has a patent on lines and triangles. So you are always welcome to use any ideas that you see on any of my pages and videos. Now, if you do a copycat page, like you're trying to almost make a replica, which I've done with other artists before, just for fun. Sometimes it's fun to just follow their whole flow. And if you post it on social media, just kind of credit that person. And so, yeah, now I'm looking through my little quote journal that I have, and I'm thinking about what quote that I want to do. But before I write my quote, I'm going to create some circles that are coming off the page to contain my quote is my plan. Okay, so sometimes I just kind of wing my quote and start writing. And if you have like a wide open space, that works. But for this particular page, I needed to kind of plan the spacing. So I'm lining up, I'm putting a little dot at the edge of that, of the paper here on a blank piece of paper, so that then I use my same little circle template. And that way I know how much space I have. So I'm just going to kind of plan out my quote. And already I'm like, okay. Another thing that I do sometimes is if I run out of space on a line where I haven't finished a word, I'll just continue the word on the next line. But since I'm taking the time to plan it out, I'm going to try to space it a little bit better so that I don't do that. So as you can see, that was helpful in this case because I only had a few words left in that last circle, and I'm like, okay, that didn't space out well. Anyway, so I got it all situated. And then another thing you can do when you're trying to fit a quote somewhere is, instead of just writing it left to right, like start in the middle. Look at how many, like here I'm counting how many letters are in the word definitely. I'm like, okay, there's 10. So my middle is going to be between the N and the I. So I'm just going to kind of determine where the middle is and then work my way to the right and then backwards to the left. It's kind of a fun little brain exercise too, because your brain is like, what are you doing? You're not writing a word in the right order. But hey, we got to keep our brains on its toes sometimes. Okay, so my quote is, my ducks are definitely not in a row. In fact, I don't even know where some of them are. I just thought it was cute, and it can definitely describe me because I'm pretty sure I have a little touch of like ADHD or ADD or whatever, because sometimes I don't know where my ducks are. All right, well, I started using the thicker marker on the whole word when I started with my, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do the thick downstroke on the left side of each letter, because that's another strategy for lettering. And here's a good time to point out like the difference between lettering and writing. So like in the background, when I was just writing my thoughts, that's just my penmanship, my scribble, whatever. And it's very different than when you are actually creating a quote and the letters are very, slow and intentional, and you're paying attention to the thickness and the height and all of that. And so if you think, oh, I don't like my handwriting, well, practice hand lettering because it's very different than your handwriting. Okay, so if you know me, you know I love my dots, and I kind of went a little dot crazy. I'm like, dude, Aaron, you need to like chill a little bit. Leave a little open space, okay? Yeah. So I tried to do that. Like in the middle, I'm like, oh, there's not dots in that area. Okay. But I think I probably could have done a few less. Because then it makes the dots that are there more special, right? Okay. So now I'm doing a little shading technique where I am just using a white marker to highlight the left side of each of the letters. And then I'm going to just continue to add little white accents here and there. In general, no matter what colors you're working with, I think if you use black and white or one or the other or both, you end up just getting a nice contrast and pop with the color. And anyway, I love it. So I started thinking I was going to outline the line triangle thing, and I thought, I kind of want to leave it the way it is, but I already did one. So I'm just going to let it dry. Let me think about how I want to do that. So in the meantime, I will go soften all my dots by putting a white dot in the middle of my black dots. And yeah, so okay, so that one line doesn't feel like it's totally random, I'm just going to do one line in each section. So yeah, so then it kind of stands out as something different and it feels a little bit more balanced. So there's my page. I hope that you enjoyed watching my process and hanging out with me today. Be sure to do all that YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff that helps grow my channel so I can become a YouTube millionaire. Love you, friends. Have a super blessed day.